All right, our next topic is going to be consciousness is fundamental. Yeah, okay, but. And what I'm getting at there is I've been hearing and reading a lot about this subject lately in a number of different areas, in science areas, religious areas, philosophical areas, covering the entire gamut. The idea that consciousness is fundamental, it's supposed to be the ground state of existence. And it's a super cool concept that I've been really looking into quite a bit lately. But the thing is, even after reading all that, I still want to know, what do they mean by that? What do you mean when you say consciousness is fundamental? Right? Consciousness is the ground state, the base of reality. And if that's the case, and if it is, I want to know, what do you mean? So, the idea goes a long way back. It's been voiced by lots of different people across, the centuries, and even some really high thinking, extremely influential scientists in the world. And I want to take a look at a couple of them, see what they have to say. For instance, I'm going to start out with Max Planck. Max Planck was a founding father of quantum mechanics, and a hardline science kind of a thing, obviously. But he had a lot to say about consciousness and where that stands, and his idea of it being fundamental. Let's take a look at a couple of his quotes. All right, starting with this. He said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing, postulates consciousness." Again, that's by Max Planck, founding father of quantum mechanics. He also said this: "All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." So that's, again, Max Planck talking about consciousness and it being fundamental. We also have Erwin Schrödinger. Everyone knows him, or everyone who's interested in quantum mechanics knows him. He's the guy behind his own cat, Schrödinger's cat. He said this about consciousness and the fundamentality of it. Right? "Consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, for consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It cannot be accounted for in terms of anything else." So again, primary, absolutely the top thing in the universe, consciousness, not matter, not energy, not information, consciousness. That spills over, that kind of thinking has also influenced New Age thinkers, of course, people like Deepak Chopra and Amit Goswami. So I'm going to read a couple of more quotes. This one's from Deepak. All right, it says, "It may well be that the subject-object dichotomy is false to begin with, and that consciousness is primary in the cosmos, not just an epiphenomenon of physical processes in a nervous system." That's from Deepak Chopra, How Consciousness Became the Universe. Right? Similar, Amit Goswami, another author, another great thinking, science guy. Ready? "Consciousness is not mind. It is the ground of all being, the ground of both matter and mind. Matter and mind are both possibilities of consciousness." Again, these are newer thinkers picking up on the stuff that people like Erwin Schrödinger and Max Planck and many others who came before them, obviously even going back to ancient times, who think that consciousness is the primary thing and that all things outside of consciousness arose and arise from it. One more quote. This is from Federico Fagan, and he says, "As I tried to figure it out by having all kinds of different experiences, many equally extraordinary as the first, and that gave me a sense of the shape and boundaries of consciousness. It was already clear in my original experience that consciousness must be fundamental. But as time went on, it also became clear intellectually that consciousness cannot be something that happens inside the brain. It has to be what creates brains." Right? So, again, I think these quotes are extremely fascinating. I mean, they really get into what I really like. I love all the topics, fundamental stuff. What's primary? What's going on in the entire, the substrate of existence? But my question remains. It's the same. It's the topic of the show today. What do they mean by it? There's no real explanation. There's just a statement that consciousness is primary. Okay, and then that's it. Let's just sign off and let's leave it at that. Well, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, first off, it assumes that there's a universal source of consciousness. And I think, obviously, that's a huge assumption. Right? But if we do make that assumption, it still asks the question, does consciousness give rise to everything else? Is that kind of like, I don't know, some sort of a dream? How does it happen? What are the mechanics behind it? Do we have, does someone a thinking, intelligent, as someone said, matrix, mind matrix? Is it somehow magically giving rise to matter and things that are things you can hold in your hand and see and that are tangible? I don't know. We're conscious. We have consciousness. Human beings do, but just because we have consciousness doesn't mean we can create matter. We can't do that. We can't create matter. We can mold it, we can shape it, but we can't create it. And so what it seems to be is that if consciousness is fundamental, which is again a super cool concept, I just need to know more. I want to know, and we're going to talk to people about exactly that issue. What's going on? How does that happen? All right. Or is this something that's just like, consciousness is equal to God, and that that God just, it's just maybe a different way of saying, well, God just did it. And if you look at the Bible, the biblical explanation and description of God, you'll see that we also have something of a mechanics issue, at least that I'm going to need to explore with people who are theologians and that sort of thing. For instance, right out of the box there, Genesis, God said, "Let there be light." Okay, well, it was just him saying it, right? It was just like snapped his fingers and then light came in. Or he didn't even snap his fingers, he just said it. Almost like kind of a magical thing. All right, so I want to know, was there something more? If you look deeper into the Bible, further on in Genesis 2, then you'll find that there's a description of God making Adam from dust, right? So when he gets around to making living creatures, then there's an idea of how it's being done. There's dust from the earth, and it's being formed into a person, into Adam. And then, of course, we know from a little further down the road in Genesis 2, we've got Eve being made. And how does that happen? Well, I don't have to really worry about that because it does say it. It says that God created the woman, Eve, out of Adam's rib. So we got that covered. So there's, at least in that instance, we have a method and something. But the creation of everything really doesn't have an explanation of how that happened. It just says it did happen. It didn't say how. So I'm really going to be looking for input on that issue, and I really can't wait. We're going to switch gears real quickly. I'm going to touch on a couple of quick subjects before I run out of time, and one of them is panpsychism. I really love this concept. It's a little different. It doesn't say that consciousness gave rise to everything, but it says that everything that is in existence has some level of consciousness. And so I really want to explore that topic too, and see how that's going to feed into this subject, and maybe there is something that of a connection there. And also, and I keep talking about this and referencing it, but it's this extremely fascinating, very interesting subject that might have something to do with it as well, which is the observer effect. And Robert Lanza, I've mentioned him a couple times on the show, and I'm really gunning to try and get him as a guest on this show to talk about it. And there, he's talking about consciousness, but the consciousness in this instance is human-based and other sentient life, observing quantum elements, the quantum nature of existence, and bringing that quantum stuff into reality based on observation, based on consciousness. So that's a totally different way of looking at it, from a different way, but it's still kind of the same thing. And at least there you do have some level of explanation of how it's happening, because the observation itself is bringing about the reality out of a quantum sea of potential. So that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm really hopeful that we can get him to come on real soon. But in the meantime, if you know anything about this, if you can give me some insight on how consciousness is something that can actually give rise to matter, and energy and information and anything like that. If you have any input on that, or would like to just make a comment, let us know. The comment section on YouTube is wide open. As always, let us know that. But also go to the website, exusthepodquest.com, and leave your comments and your input, questions there. That would be great. Also, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That'd be awesome. We'd love to have more subscribers, as many as we can get. And as I say, you go there, and we'll be going ever forward.